Hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope you all had an enjoyable time so far at the Things conference, and I hope I can make it even better for you with today's topic, from cook to chill, ensuring food safety with real-time monitoring. My name is Blaž, and I'm a support manager at Senzemo. Now, over the years, I have taken plenty of roles with Senzemo, but most of them have consistent working with customers, because that's what I love to do. I love working with people. And also, one more thing I like is aircraft, all the way from planes, helicopters, you name it. And I'm also a big fan of Top Gun. So, yes, I'm actually the exact same size as Tom Cruise. So if you want to see a real-life replica of Tom Cruise one-to-one, you can meet me for a beer afterwards, all right? Thank you. Now, enough about me. Let's go back to Senzemo. Senzemo is a LoRaWAN device manufacturer from Slovenia, and with all of our devices made in European Union. We focus on quality and producing quality devices that provide accurate measurements. Now, Senzemo focuses on 4 different verticals: agriculture, urban spaces, industry, all the way from smart industry to food safety, which will be the topic of today, and buildings. Many use cases have been built in those 4 verticals, and most of them have one thing in common, which is harsh environment. First one, number 1, buried underground. 200 devices, soil sensors buried underground, including the antenna in Sydney Olympic Park. Still working perfectly. LoRa is awesome, right? Or our devices, or both. Rigid housing. Compost use case works well. We developed a special compost stick that compost makers just put in the ground, and it works, right? And third one would be the extreme temperatures. So our partner in Australia, which is our biggest market, have been providing sense sticks to Hyatt, Intercontinental, Sheraton, and other hotel chains to measure temperature and humidity in cold chains. And that's where we saw that there is a huge potential in IoT business in food safety, right? So this is how we came to the topic and use case of today, which is cook and chill. Now, what really is cook and chill is essentially restaurants would prepare and cook large quantities of food in advance and then store it and serve it at a later time. We do this by cooking the food to a high enough temperature to kill pathogens, and then we have to cool it down rapidly at the temperature the bacteria cannot grow anymore. So how do they monitor the system now, as of now? So if it's not digitalized, how do the chefs monitor that? So we have first to cook the temperature 70 degrees. Then within the next 2 hours, we have to drop that to 20 degrees, and then within the next 4 hours to 5 degrees Celsius. So right now, the restaurants would employ a cooking specialist or a food technician that would take a probe. Step number 1, you would put it into the food, start cooking, measure the temperature, write it down on paper, take it out, write down on paper again what was the temperature, set on the timer. Step number 3, take it out of the oven, write down the temperature again, put it into the fridge, write down the temperature, start the timer again. That's what? Step number 8. I can't even follow it, right? It's not really simple. So the issues with that are that leads to mistakes, because humans are not robots, right? We do mistakes. We all do them. So that leads to compromised food, meaning lower quality, which leads to potentially food poisoning of our customers. It leads to a lot of food waste, a lot of issues with HACCP standards, right? We have to follow HACCP standards, and we all want our restaurants where we eat to follow the HACCP standards, right? It's important. And all that means also that it can potentially risk damaging their brand image. But let's take a look at this from the client perspective. It goes by the name of Tasty Fresh. They have been operating since 1979. And they're a family-operated business that drives around in 153 vans like this on the pictures, delivering well-deserved meals to industry workers, construction workers, office spaces, etc. And yes, they have 500 employees. They are throughout the entire Australia, and they serve 35,000 customers, as said. So what is their challenge? The challenge of Tasty Fresh is that they're a delivery business, so they need pre-prepared quality food that has to be served fresh, tasty, and of course safe to consume. They have different types of food that they cook, so each one has to be cooked with a different complexity. And of course, each food has to follow different stages of cook and chill process as well. They also are throughout the many locations in Australia, so logistically, that is also a problem. So this is when our client, MFC from Australia, called us and said, hey, we want to help. We want to help Tasty Fresh. We want to digitalize the cook and chill system so they can focus on what they do best, cooking food, right? And that's how we started making a solution, IoT solution, together with our partner MFC, to address all of the previously mentioned challenges. We need 3 steps for that, right? Hardware, which is done by us, hardware specialists. Software, done with our partners. This is really important because we alone in this industry as a hardware providers cannot work. So we need knowledge of our partners because they know their end customers. And of course, at the end, those both 2 things have to work together well in a process, in this way also with people. So first, the hardware. As we are a hardware manufacturer, we started working on the special temperature sensor. We already had SenseSticks before, measure temperature, so now we had to adapt a bit and create a special sensor with a food probe. So that's how SenseStick Food Probe was born. We also had to adjust the firmware a little bit because it has to follow strict rules of cook and chill stages. So also, that means that it has to measure on frequent measurements and also fit the LoRaWAN standards, so we can't go beyond that. So we made a firmware to start measuring at 70 degrees and then follow into the frequent measurements of different stages. Of course, you need something to back it up behind. That's software, right? It needs to trigger some sort of rule chains. So this was made by our software, by our partners, so they made a software. The idea was to start a rule chain, so the sensor will start measuring, and the software starts the timers, it starts the oven, so it has to be connected to all the peripherals in the kitchen. And, of course, we also have to store the data to make HACCP standards and papers all digital, so for the inspection case. Now, we can see how this platform was at the end built. It has different phases, all different sorts of foods, so pie, sausage rolls, quiche, etc., different cooking temperature, and of course it also lets know of people of the alarms in the kitchen, so all the kitchen stuff. And these together works in a process. So how does it work really? So Steve would come, right? Steve from Tasty Fresh, not from American Pie, and he would put in the probe, and it would start measuring and start the rule chain of operations. So starting the timers, starting the oven. It would also let know of the kitchen stuff when to take something out, so when something has to be done manually. What did that result in? So that results in more controlled food safety. It means that food is now produced more with a bigger quality, means less poisonings, means less wasted food, and of course it's paperless, smart, and easy. It follows the HACCP requirements. Also, it saves approximately 40 work hours per week for the food technician that would otherwise do that. And all that was done on the platform that I've shown before, the SenseStick SMC30. But now we are actually announcing on the Wall of Fame this one, which is the new version. It's smaller in size, because size doesn't really matter, right? It's easier to install. It's easier to put in the batteries. It has more rigidized enclosure. And we also provide it with all of the probes mentioned on the site. So you can check it out on the Wall of Fame later. And also for you here, we also have a 50% discount code somewhere around here for the first sample. So you can check it out under your chair. You might find a discount. Okay, perfect. So all that leads me to closing this use case that we did this year with our team, who's also sitting here. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and otherwise we can meet for a beer, or you can meet us here. We'll be around here and ask us any questions.